portray to you, if you think the weather out there is a risk to your business, doing nothing about governance in succession will certainly be a greater risk. First of all, thank you for the sponsors for tonight. I think it's a great effort and a great audience out there on what is a wild night. So when Marie said, can you speak to future-proofing, transitioning and good governance for farming businesses? Quite a wide topic. And can you also speak for 40 minutes? So quite a long time. So I've taken some time to prepare this and hope it's entertaining and you can bear with me. Right, just a little bit about the business. As Marie said, it's about 2,000 hectares, about 1,450 hectares of milking area. The rest is dairy support in terms of grazing and feed. Mainly in the North Island we run that model. In the South Island we tend to buy in that feed and grazing. About 6,000 cows, about 2.4 million milk solids, over 7 farms. So how do we get started? Marissa's described a fair bit of that. I think the business has been certainly driven out of passion. Some people would say mad bloody passion. Work ethic, and just keeping the pedal to the metal. So the difference probably between our business and a lot of businesses, we've just kept making the business work and run quite hard for a period of 35 years. I believe though the business has grown off 3 pillars. One of those is attempting to get ROIs, that's return on investment, greater than the weighted cost of capital, considerably greater than the weighted cost of capital. And at the moment, can't bring anything to the board that probably won't return 8 to 10%. So it's grown off that as one pillar, so getting better ROIs, better EBITs. Land appreciation, of course, we've all had that, along with obtaining value through conversions and doing up properties, etc. This has seen a rate of growth in TH Enterprises over the last, we've only protracted probably the last 14 years, when I've got Greg Eden, my accountant, to do some numbers on it. The growth has been about 20% compounding over the last 14 years. This means this business has to double in size approximately every 5 years. Here is an example. 2 farms in 2000, 1999, 2000, about $12 million worth of assets. Today, there's 7 farms and over $100 million worth of assets. We do have one other farm that we own a 52% share in, which we have with a daughter and son-in-law. This is outside TH Enterprise. This is very exciting for yours truly. And as I said, but for most people, they would consider it madness. So what change in management structures along the way, and what growing pains did we have to grow the business to this size? It became apparent as we had 4 or 5 farms, probably 3 in Canterbury and 2 in South Rotorua, at a little place called Rufakari, that pressures were starting to develop. I was trying to run both islands, do land development, do all the staff, do all the operational management. Harriet was doing all of the cars, all the admin, and all the wages. Guess what happens? We weren't getting a lot. So it puts pressure on personal profit. So that's just some of the stuff that businesses go through and develop. So then you get administration's pressures. Currently we've got mail pressure. Like if we go away for 5 days, you don't just get a letterbox full, you get a washing basket full of mail. Emails, reports, agreements, quotes, negotiations. You need to change your learning skills, therefore, to force yourself into a different role. And that's certainly what's happened to me in the last 3 to 4 years. The business has just got too big, certainly to deal with much operational. I would probably spend 40% of my time on the laptop either answering emails or doing something that's related to administration. However, We do not want it to be corporatised. What I call corporatised is a whole lot of middle management. In fact, we have such a slim business. Harriet still does all the administration, and the only thing outside administration is my eldest daughter that does the wages. So do we work the business hard? Yes, we do. So what are some of the challenges we've faced as the business grown? Well, we had to make the decision to start working on the business rather than in the business. That happened some 14 years ago when we first entered Canterbury. I said to Harriet we were going to go down and buy this 1,000-cow farm in the South Island, and I wasn't going to milk. But what the hell were we going to do if we weren't going to milk? Well, I can assure you there was heaps to do, and did it we did. By not working in the business and working on the business, it gives you far more time to strategically plan that business and deal with everything that's coming at you sideways. I call it a helicopter point of view, and that is when you have 10 different things coming at you once on one day. However, as a business grows, it needs to be easily duplicated. In fact, I think if you haven't got a business you can multiply or duplicate, you haven't got a sound business model. I see it time and time again in this, particularly the dairy industry, where it depends totally on owner operator. The moment you depend totally on owner operator, you can't grow a business. So therefore you have to start doing things like entrusting staff, etc. You have to empower people at all levels, and having a board of directors that we currently do takes a lot of business debates away from personal time. I call it pillow talk. How many times have you gone to bed with your partner and discussed some management issue, some staff issue, some other issue that totally uses up your personal life? We try to say now that we will have our business debates in the boardroom, not in our personal life. That has been quite a discipline. We just need to remind it one another more often. So what? When we look forward, where do we see the business? Well, frankly, I see it very quickly becoming to a stage where we, in fact, are just dealing with strategic issues. The directors are facing up to this reality already, because I run 3 farms in the North Island with managers, which I oversee, and a dry stock manager. It's almost getting to the stage, probably one more purchase in the North Island, and we will be looking for an operations manager in the North Island. So the roles do change. So when we moved out of Canterbury, we put an operations manager in. He looks after the 4 large farms down there, and here this is a non-milking manager. So he takes what I call that helicopter view of imagining yourself hovering around, looking down, solving problems, giving managers support. Once we put that system in place, we moved away to empower that person and let them get on with the job. So it's all right to have a title, but let that person carry out the title. Because if you're not going to let that person carry out the title, then you might as well not have that person there. When we did identify we needed good governance, what was needed and at what stage? What was a catalyst to thinking about governance? GFC, banking requirements. What was going to happen if one of us, as such as Maurice talked about, was no longer in a position to run the business? I remember going to taking the Fonterra governance course and coming home and saying to Harriet, I believe we need to pursue this governance at even greater rate. But hell, we've done it by ourselves this long and nothing had happened. What was the point? My answer was to Harriet, do you want to be left with this elephant that we've created together and the responsibilities that go with it? Now the responsibilities as a business gets larger must move out wider, because you then have responsibilities of the large business too. Family members, which most of us employed in the business, staff, professionals, service industry, banks, anyone associated with revenue from the company, including New Zealand Inc. So we have grazers that source 100% of their income from us. Contractors that support get 60% of their income from us. So what responsibilities do you have that are needed to be put in place that affect those services? So it becomes huge. And if you don't believe that, take on board, as Marie said, what happened to Mr. Crayfer and what happened to South Canterbury Finance's Mr. Hubbard. Why do entrepreneurial people resist governance or an advisory board structure? And I would recommend an advisory board structure for someone with a smaller business. The answer is control. One must understand the need to change and move to another space. I'm going to say we're all control freaks. You know, don't tell me what I'm doing and how to do it. Nobody tells me how to run this bloody business. It's my way or the highway. And I guess Harriet said some of those comments from yours truly in the past. The way around this was for us to ask, what's the alternative if one wanted to leave a legacy of a large agribusiness that is going to be intergenerational and a family business, and therefore did one really need to stamp control and ownership on the complete business and every facet within that business? After all, if one was never going to sell, believing that this business was intergenerational, then does it really matter that you don't have absolute control? Have you ever seen a hearse towing a trailer loaded full of assets? I have never. Once you get over the feeling of not needing to control every outcome, it's like a cloud that lifts off your day. When one fully embraces governance, because you should have all directors in support, once a well-debated decision-making has been happening. As TH Enterprises has no equity partners and is owned and being built by Harriet and I 100%, all decisions were being made previously by the two of us, as owner-managers, being Harriet and myself. This is dangerous to the long-term viability of the business. Surely then, this business couldn't be intergenerational. We have found independent directors are also best to deliver business messages and outcomes to other family members. Whether employed inside the company or not, if mum and dad deliver the message, then emotion is always attached. And I think you'll know what I'm talking about there. It's pretty hard for me to turn down my 25-year-old daughter. Well, it's pretty hard for Harriet to turn down Johnny Boy when he's the only son. Emotion inevitably comes into it. Dividends are currently being paid to all siblings. Dividends, though, are set by the board of directors. I told my independent directors when they came on board, here's a blank sheet of A4 paper. I want you to go and create an intergenerational model for an intergenerational family business. Around the vision that's contained in the vision statement. And for everyone, the vision statement will be different. Our vision statement just happens to be to create a truly multi-intergenerational, family-owned agribusiness, complete with formal governance, producing sustained profit and wealth creation through the leverage of the current assets of TH Enterprises. Our vision is to benefit our family now and into the future through the development of education, employment and business opportunities. So the board's decisions are based around the vision statement. So if you can, and the vision statement will be a personal thing, as Marie said, and you know, that's what you need to develop from. Don't copy our vision statement because you may want something else for your business. So I talked about control. So what's it like to be accountable to other directors? If you're used to charging off to buy that next farm, changing the dairy company, or changing training banks on your own accord without any disciplines. Not always easy. But I see this as an extension of accountability and integrity required to grow a large business and pursue an intergenerational succession plan. Being accountable to all other directors is a matter of integrity and respect for those directors. Proving what we say we actually do and deliver against the agreed parameters of the board. So what do we do around that? Reporting operational managers by all farm managers must come both to the operational manager in the South Island and to me as CEO. Report every day on feed, every 10 days on feed and pastoral rules. Monthly farm reports and stock reconciliations to the operation managers and the CEO on the company's template. So stock reconciliations. Operations managers, however, from both the North and South Island, report to all board meetings. So what's the duty of a CEO? Reports production against budget. This is in our case. You could give you an idea of some of the stringent policies we've put around financial since government. The CEO's reports against production against budget within 5 days of the month ending to the directors and to the bank. Expenditure against budget variances are known by at least the 20th of the month following. So the information is only about 3 weeks old. Explanations then are both given to the board of directors and the bank. Last financial year, I'm very proud of, the difference between the budget and the actual, the end result was 0.09 of 1%. How has the secret happened? It is monitoring. No financial information, as I said, is more than 3 weeks. Strategic plans, return on investment outcomes, growth opportunities in a fast-growing, moving business, and written reports to bi-monthly board meetings. It's required from the CEO. However, due to workload, we're thinking of going on shorter intervals on board meetings. The recent $16.5 million worth investment since governance in the last just 18 months, and the responsibilities, particularly the independent directors felt to TH Enterprises, therefore brings about a commitment to the CEO to deliver. Governance, of course, comes at a cost, and the responsibilities, of course, cost money. But directors, however, will not take on the responsibilities of a company this size for nothing, and no more they should. An advisory board, as I said, I would recommend to singular or dual funds as opposed to a full governance board and the cost that goes with it. A CEO's duty and he needs to deliver accurately timely information. The good, which CEOs love to do, because they're generally entrepreneurs. The bad, or just simply the bloody ugly, has to be delivered. As James Lockhart said to me, Trevor, always face the brutal reality, good, bad or ugly. Banks now, post-GFC, are looking for this reporting. Excellent governance, reporting, deliverance against projected budgets, honesty, integrity are all the things banks are looking for. About 2 months ago, the head of Agri for the BNZ spent about an hour and a half telling us how good we bloody were. We could have got carried away with it. But the board pulled him up and said, hang on a minute, you're the only rain check the board's got. Please feel free to criticise when needed. TH Enterprises. What would have happened to TH Enterprises if we did not go down this governance route? I know we would have struggled to have a well-planned strategy for growth and investment and succession. Employment opportunities would have been challenged with the family and within the business, and we would have struggled to carry out our vision statement. The speed of growth and change would overpower even two workaholic business owners. So what constitutes a well-balanced board of directors? Well, for a start, don't go and clone your bloody self. Board full of Trevor Hamiltons would not be ideal, I'm telling you that. Probably go to and buy 20 farms. When choosing a director, choose people you have the utmost trust and respect for, because I think this helps you take on the advice in a very considered manner, even if you don't agree with it, with both respect and integrity. So who's our board and what's the balance? Dr. James Locker. James I met from the Frontier Governance course. He facilitated that, and I was probably viewing him while he was ticking off my paper. I said to James, would you like to be involved with TH Enterprises? Because I wish to grow the business further. He said, Trevor, you can't afford not to. I said, would you like to come on board? His answer was, yes, he would love to. Why would you, James? Because it fascinates me what you and Harriet have achieved. James is an academic. No, I'm not academic. He teaches governance and strategy at Massey University. He teaches MBA students. He's from a defence background. He owns a small sheep farm, and he loves agri. He loves agri. And the other thing is, he's a disciplinarian, just what Trevor Hamilton needed. James is our independent chairman, and that sends a message to the children. We are serious on formal governance. Our other independent director is Greg. Greg, please stand up, Greg. Greg's been with us as an accountant for a period of about 25, 26 years. Greg stables Rodway. Greg deals with finance, strategy, family issues, great family perspective. Greg is accountable to the banks, but also holds the bank to account. So it's a two-way thing. And he calls himself the general handbrake. Tries to pull it up one notch too high sometimes. For instance, last board meeting in Palmerston North, I said to Greg, as a result of TAF, we're going to take this business place. We're going to double it again in the next 5 years. So Greg has this frown on his face, sits back in the chair and thinks, yeah, here we go again. How are you going to do this, Trevor? But having got on the whiteboard and worked some numbers was completely a doable option. That's what governance brings. It brings a lot more brains. Harriet, my loving wife. Harriet is a detailed, humble person. She deals with all the administration, and today, even at the beach batch, we're sitting there filling out forms for accounting purposes. She questions policy, questions the strategy that we sometimes have, and really brings about the family purpose. Yours truly, just a big-headed, ego-tripped entrepreneur with a big picture strategy, a risk taker, growth visionary, and passion to the point of madness. Someone said to me the other day, you're 61 now, Trevor, why the hell are you doing all this work building, reconfiguring this farm at Brewer? I said, because I don't play bloody golf and this is my golf course. That's about it. Here lies the balance and diversity within our board of TH Enterprises. Whatever you do, take time to choose your directors and advisors very wisely. This will give you the best outcomes from your business. I just want to go through this slowly because I think it just brings home the power of the board. The board's role is to provide entrepreneurial leadership of a company within a framework of prudent and effective controls which enables risks to be assessed and managed. So that's where the balance comes in. At the moment, the board is agreeing, our board is agreeing on equity level for leveraging purposes, for instance. We probably won't go where Hawera and I used to. And the board wouldn't be happy either. An effective board should not necessarily be a comfortable place. An effective board develops, promotes its collective vision of the company's purpose, its culture, its values, its behaviours, and it wishes to promote in conducting business. So every business has a different culture. A board must challenge any teamwork, because you don't want to just act as a team and not debate. A board feature is to have diversity in composition. This is an important driver of a board's effectiveness. This creates breadth and breaks down a tendency towards group thinking. So sometimes there is some pretty hard debates and challenges, but that's what it's all about. If no one's debating, no one's thinking. You want to be able to look around the boardroom table and see the different stakeholders represented, so that when there's an issue that comes up that involves one of them, you have an experienced person to turn to on that matter. And that's exactly happened. What you want on one side of the board is discipline. So on one side you want a V, and it wants to be discipline on one side, systems, processes, planning, and advice roles. That's the Hawera and the Gregs of this. On the other side, you want the entrepreneur that's fully afraid with operational, he is flexible, he innovates, and is adaptable. If you can get all those things together, it leads to sustained growth that leads into succession. That succession will last 50, 100 or 200 years. Now there's not many examples of agribusiness in New Zealand that have lasted for a very long time. So what does a good governance culture mean? A board must add value by acting as a team with a high performance culture that is committed to be engaged to bring about quality governance to the identity. A well-functioning board should celebrate debate through diversity, thoughtful challenge, and embrace dissent. We do certainly, and one thing I'm really hard on, we do not entertain personal or political agendas. We require the board to stick to the issues and performance of the company. If we go outside of this and to deal in those political agendas, this only uses up energy and is a diversion away from our core business. I think Fonterra could do with a lesson in that. So where is the board added value? It's all right to have a board costing us money. Where's it added value? Our board of directors has spent many hours totally understanding tech, as we had a huge investment in tech in the Fonterra shares, and it needed to understand how this fits in with our company's strategy and strategic thinking. It's probably one of the biggest challenges we've had in the board. I'll put it to you, how many people in the room fully and intrinsically understand every facet of trading and finance, even though they were having There you go, there's the point of governance. So how is that going to work around the company's strategy, and was that the best use of capital for TH Enterprises? 4% might be good enough for some people, it ain't good enough for TH Enterprises, I can tell you that. The board has also been instrumental in succession planning with children whether employed in the business or not within the business. I would not wish to return, and I guess Harriet wouldn't either, to pre-governance days. We simply now have too much at stake, too fast a moving machine, and too many balls in the air. There becomes the risk without governance. So what is the point of governance and where does it fit into succession? Well, over 80% of businesses are actually family owned. In fact, it's an exception not to have a family owned business. Car manufacturers like BMW, Citroen, Peugeot, all those big car manufacturers, they're family businesses. They've just stood the intergenerational time. Ford. Everyone knows about Ford. It's an intergenerational business. In New Zealand, to New Zealand's disadvantage, I believe we do not have that situation. Succession is about taking a long-term perspective on your business. It's long after Harriet and I believe gone. And where's the responsibility out there? You have to face up to the fact that an owner-manager's role is going to change over time. You must plan for your growth in your business because standing still is not an option. And that means you're going backwards. You know why? Because every other bugger's zooming past. A transitional plan towards succession and formal governance can be an advisory board, as I said before. And I want to draw that home. So don't think that you're just going to have to employ a lot of high-paid directors. ANZ survey suggests 22% of farmers, listen to this, 22% of farmers have directors, and of that figure, only 39% of them ever remember holding meetings. And only 7% of them, again, hold an formal meeting with written minutes. That does not leave many that have a plan for the future. A good succession plan for your business must be one of a profitable business. And it must be able, I believe, as said earlier, to support two families. Because why do you want to put your kids into a peasantry lifestyle? And it's part of the reason I think, certainly in the sheep beef industry, they've been unable to attract family members. Simply not profitable. If there was one reason why we've attracted 4 family members out of 5 to the business, so I've got a daughter that does the wages, I've got a son that manages a farm in Canterbury, I've got another daughter on the farm we just purchased in Rikura that the slides are showing on, and her husband, and I've got another daughter and son-in-law who are on a farm separate from Teotihuacan. The reason why I believe we've attracted to the business, I've seen how Harriet and I have obtained a profit and got a lifestyle at the same time as growing the business. So don't talk down your farming business to your children and expect them to make a career out of it. Why the hell would they? When Dad comes home and moans about what he's got to do with it. A succession plan must be flexible enough to attract the current generation, that's what I'm saying, and changing family circumstances. They won't sustain, like Harriet and I did, 20 years with no milkings off. They won't sustain. Does Taranaki have a succession problem? I'm not claiming it does, but I want you to listen to a few statistics. It's a good question because succession problems raise their head in Taranaki more than any other province with dairy NZ. My question to you is it lack of scale or lack of profit bringing on succession problems to a light more in Taranaki? That I don't know the answer to. But I'll give you this data. New Zealand Dairy NZ data would suggest the following facts. The average Taranaki herd is 270 cows. The average herd in New Zealand is 380. The average South Island herd is 580, and the average herd TH Enterprises has is 860. The question I then have to the auditors is, do you really want your farm business to become road kill down the track as a result of lack of governance and succession planning? On the home straight now. With a larger farm enterprise, there are more options around employment of family members to match individual skills such as admin, wages clerk, secretary, operations manager, CEO or directorships. As I said, this is the way we've managed to employ 4 out of 5 family members. The only reason we haven't as a 5 is she's got a cushy life and married an airline pilot and she's in sales. You can't beat them all. You can beat most of them. A word of warning here is you need to give siblings a well-earned opportunity with all the learnings needed along the way and shut down any sense of entitlement or inheritance. My daughter once said to me, "What if you live as long as your old man? Died at 96. I said, "Well, don't hold your bloody breath waiting, will you?" So you need to give your children the learnings, and they must also buy into the company's vision statement. Or as my son Jonathan said, "Dad, nobody within the family has a right to anything or employment in any position within this company not earned." If there is, however, as Marie suggested, a black sheep within the business, they are better off to be paid a dividend and kept outside the engine room of the company. Otherwise, they can cause a series of problems down the track. To such an extent, they become a bad influence on what currently is good business practice or behaviours. And that's all I'm going to say there. So just be aware of that. If someone's not fitting the model, think about what you need to do. Trusts and companies. While I'm no legal expert or accountant, believe me, family trusts, I believe, are designed around taxation, not succession planning. Just heard of an instance the other day at a grazier's, which we deal with. His father died within one day of the funeral. His brother's wife rang up and said, "I think we're entitled to half the farm. And what's more, we think our children should work it." This fella's been on his farm with his parents, working that farm since day dot. I think trusts really pose some problems around this because generally all children are the beneficiaries. If you don't want a situation where a sibling ends up working all their life on a farm or within a company only to learn at the latter they have worked for other family members at no benefit other than a salary on the farm all their life. Just be aware of that. However, I'm suggesting some good professional legal and accounting advice if your business is in a family trust, as this may be outdated if you want to create a long-term succession plan. In my view, a limited liability company allows more flexibility with succession and allows shares to be sold down on an agreed basis to any company or property. The board of TH Enterprises does not currently entertain or wish in the future to entertain share milking agreements, as we see these outdated for TH Enterprises growth and only see it slowing up the growth. The family company does, however, sell down limited liability shares on an agreed basis of the board. So in our case, we will probably continue to sell down shares on a couple of farms to such an extent, a state where we say, well, okay, little Johnny boy, you have got $600,000 worth of equity, you use that equity, join it up with that equity.